Hi, my name is Lindsay Melzer, and this is my Article 3 assignment for exercise physiology, and my email is at the bottom, lmelzer@clemson.edu. So, what article did I pick? I picked an article titled Development of Maximal Dynamic Strength During Concurrent Resistance and Endurance Training in Untrained, Moderately Trained, and Trained Individuals. So, here's the APA citation. There's a screenshot of it. And so, yes, this article is looking at concurrent or co-training in individuals and the effects of strength production. Why did I choose this article? So, I had co-trained the majority of my life, and I never knew that there were negative effects. This just kind of stimulated from like doing sports at a young age and like running and then doing strength workouts and like doing the co-training. Um, and I also just love to run, so I would always want to warm up with a run, and those just got progressively longer and longer. And then I would still do the floor exercises, and I just did not know that there were negative effects. And we talked about it in class. So I wanted to learn more about how co-train impacts the body and how I could change my normal habits to better my exercise habits and overall health. So the purpose of this article was to compare concurrent endurance and resistance training with resistance only training to determine the development of maximal strength in moderately trained and trained individuals and untrained individuals. And the primary aim was to perform a meta-analysis and systematic review of a large number of individuals from previous concurrent studies to compile and analyze if the interference effect was attenuated, which means increase in strength, or augmented, which means decrease in strength with training. Or with specifically concurrent training. And just as a side note, the interference effects, because I did not know what this meant before reading this study, means it supports the attenuation of endurance and hypertrophic responses when endurance and strength training are conducted concurrently. So co-training supports the attenuation, the increase in strength with endurance and increase in muscle size responses when you're co-training. And the recovery period and between endurance and resistance training has been identified as a crucial factor for strength development. However, not much research has been conducted on this topic. So this article dives more into it, but I don't go into a lot of detail about specifically the recovery period, but it's just a side note that I wanted to add. So the methods, so as I stated before, this article was a systematic review and meta-analysis. So they went back into databases and did a large search from January 1980 to May 2020, looking for previous studies that had performed research under the title or something similar to concurrent endurance and resistance strength training studies. After their big search, they found 1,464 participants that were classified as potential participants from 27 studies. And of those, 750 participants were included in their study, 523 of those being men and 227 being women. And then the participants were classified into the following categories: untrained, moderately trained, and trained. So untrained was defined as no involvement in regular physical activity for at least 3 months prior to the intervention period. Moderately trained were individuals that were recreationally or physically active, but not involved in regular structured exercise for at least 3 months prior to the intervention period. And then trained individuals were athletes or other individuals who were involved in regular structured training programs for at least 3 months prior to the intervention program or intervention period. The results. So they found that for untrained and moderately trained individuals, there were no significant negative effects of concurrent resistance and endurance training in comparison to resistance training alone. Some studies showed enhanced molecular response and hypertrophy in untrained and moderately trained individuals, suggesting that concurrent training may be beneficial for individuals in the less trained population. In trained individuals, there was a small significant negative effect favoring resistance training alone in comparison to concurrent resistance and endurance training. So, why is that so? Individuals who are trained may have less potential for adaptations because they've already adapted. They also have greater resistance to fatigue because they are better trained. They have a higher aerobic work capacity, leading to exhaustion during the endurance training, which would result in an increased fatigue and reduced performance during the resistance training, if that was the order in which they did their exercises. And they have a higher overall workload and can increase the time spent in the catabolic state, which then decreases the functional capacity of the muscles. So they break down longer than needed and the muscles don't work as well or as effectively. So that said, for individuals who are untrained and moderately trained, it's actually beneficial to them to work out or to co-train. I guess just starting at the bottom, you got to work your way up. But in trained individuals, it's negative. There's a negative effect for co-training if you want to see strength gains. And to summarize, the higher overall load stress from the resistance and endurance training for trained individuals could potentially enhance the interference effect by reducing the quality of the resistance training and blunting the anabolic response. So that quote was taken directly from the article, and I felt like it did a good job summarizing everything in the results slide. In conclusion, so the results showed that adding endurance training to resistance training programs impairs the development of lower body maximal strength in trained individuals, but not in untrained or moderately trained individuals. Further, strength impairment in trained individuals appeared to be more pronounced when concurrent training was performed within the same training session rather than during different training sessions. So again, that recovery period is important. I didn't talk about it in this specific PowerPoint slide, but it was discussed in the article. And it is possible that some moderately trained individuals experience some negative effects of strength gain with concurrent training programs. So this just shows you that it's very individually based on one's level of fitness, and that if you want to have, you would have to assess an individual's level of fitness before deciding if co-training would be beneficial or negatively impact the individual's overall goals, that being strength gaining. So this article was very cool to me, and it supported what we talked about in class. In class, we discussed that with endurance training, an individual releases oxidative stress enzymes, which stimulate the release of protease enzymes. And the protease enzymes then break down muscle synthesis proteins and inhibit the growth of muscle, meaning that an individual who co-trains will not see an increase in strength if resistance training is coupled with endurance training because of the increased amount of protease enzymes breaking down muscle protein enzymes, or muscle proteins. And this article then states that individuals who engage in concurrent training will see a negative effect on strength. So I really enjoyed this article because it broke down more of a level of fitness, and, level of one's training, to see the effects on the body rather than just a general statement. And I learned a lot, and it was really cool. But this article didn't go into detail with like the oxidative stress enzymes and like the molecular side of things that we talked about in class, which I would love to learn more about. But yeah, overall it was great, learned a lot, and I hope y'all did too. So thanks for watching, and I'm gonna stop sharing, and bye.